Donald Trump is getting a rude awakening with some of the latest poll numbers heading into the midterms. It's kind of his worst nightmare. It's why you see him flailing right now and trying to change the message. We all know about this AP NORC poll showing his approval at only 33%. But when you start digging into what like Rasmussen is saying, which is Trump's top pollster, his approval there is 44% when it comes to Rasmussen. You look at Marquette's generic ballot polling, Democrats up by 10. You take a look at Wisconsin generic ballot polling, Democrats up by 7 in the latest RMG poll. You look at the latest Beacon Shaw poll, generic ballot, Democrats up 52 to 47%. You take a look at some states with Republican senators like Alaska. You have Peltola taking a commanding lead over Sullivan in that race based on a fairly credible Alaska Survey research poll there. You look at Texas, where you have Tallarico leading both Paxton and Cornyn by about 5 points, 4 points, respectively. Then you look at the latest Economist polling data for a state like Georgia, where Donald Trump's approval there is net negative 22. You start looking at some of this other data. We all know that inflation is surging. Affordability's on all Americans' mind. Donald Trump is completely ignoring that, starting never-ending wars, talking about golden ballrooms. I think the latest he's talking about is putting his face right now on every American's passport. That's the new big push right now from this regime, in addition to triumphal arches. Meanwhile, U.S. farm bankruptcies are up 46% year over year. In the Midwest, that's up 70%. And then you've got people like Brooke Rollins, the agriculture secretary, going on state regime media, which calls itself Fox. And she's out there bragging how they removed 4.3 million Americans from food stamp programs. And she says, all of this is fraud, that we got rid of 4.3 million fraudsters, to which you could probably ask, all right, so if 4.3 million Americans, you say, were illegally using food stamps, that's your claim. Where are the prosecutions? Where all of these hungry fraudsters, they decided to defraud by trying to basically get a coupon so they can eat a little bit of food? What a fraud racket that they're running. Here's what she says, just attacking the intelligence of the American people. Here, play this clip.
Secretary, you've got some new news to break with us this morning. You know, federal data revealing 4 million fewer Americans are receiving SNAP benefits in the first year of this president's second term. These numbers are coming from your department. Enrollment falling 4.2 million people. And this is after the passage, of course, of the big, beautiful bill last July. What can you tell us?
Well, it is a really big piece of news, and obviously there's a lot going on in the world, but back here and in the homeland, what are we doing to make sure that the president's promise to return the power to the people to drain the swamp is really happening? Under Joe Biden, the SNAP program, the food stamp program, grew by more than 40%. Of course, I believe they were buying votes for the election, putting as many people on as they could. Within the first hour of me being sworn in last February, we sent a letter to every governor in the country saying, partner with us. Let's make sure that this program is really working for those who need it the most. And as of just a couple of days ago, we now have moved 4.3 million Americans off of the food stamp program. A lot of that is fraud. A lot of it is people taking the program that shouldn't have been. And then a lot of it is just a better economy. We've had a wage growth that has outpaced inflation for the first time since.
They're really rolling with that. A better economy. People are thriving right now. This is the golden age. I want to bring in former Georgia Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan, who's now running for governor of Georgia. It's not a secret, Jeff, that you are a former top Republican leader when you held that lieutenant governor position. You've since switched parties to the Democratic Party, running in the Democratic primary right now for that governorship of Georgia. I want to talk about that race in just a moment. But first, I want to talk about those numbers that I was flashing to you right there, those polling numbers. Then you see what the Trump regime spokespeople are saying, that the economy's doing great. People are doing amazing. This is a golden age, they're saying. What do you say to them, Jeff?
Yeah, that 4+ minutes of polls and information and stories reads like an American horror story. And Donald Trump is exhibit A of what's wrong in this country. In fact, he's really the poster child and the chief spokesman for the argument against him as Democrats. We need to make every single Republican that wants to chase his endorsement to win a primary own it in November, because he is going to be the ultimate drag in an election. Look, this guy can't make a decision that makes sense for anybody but himself.
Oftentimes he can't make a decision at all, and he puts us in these, I call them like 2-week death spiral loops. The healthcare plan coming in 2 weeks. 2 weeks passes. I need 2 more weeks. 2 weeks passes. Just wait. It's coming. It's going to be so big, you're not even going to know what you're going to do with it. Then when it comes to the war in Iran, this catastrophic war, where I guess his plan is to now just do nothing, wait till the crisis becomes even more catastrophic. And what? When gas prices are $200 per barrel and everybody's maximum suffering, then he's like, who am I going to blame now? How do I use catastrophe to blame people? It's like, dude, you're the leader. What are you doing other than making up fake stories about fake negotiations that aren't even happening, you know?
Donald Trump is running the largest Ponzi scheme in the history of the world. That's all this is. This is a Ponzi scheme. It's every 2 weeks. It's another shiny object to make a number of people forget about what he promised before or what problems he said he was going to solve. It's just one big Ponzi scheme. And I think we're watching this Ponzi scheme break apart right in front of our eyes. The problem is there's millions, tens of millions of Americans that are in the path of destruction. I mean, the 3 things I talk about every day on this campaign trail is the affordability crisis, the healthcare crisis, and the Donald Trump crisis. There's nobody in Washington, in Trump's world, talking about the affordability crisis. Nobody's figuring out how to lower childcare costs, lower gas prices, lower grocery prices, lower housing costs. Nobody's talking about fixing the healthcare crisis. In Georgia, we've literally got hundreds of thousands of people who just got dumped off the ACA subsidies that don't have health insurance. Literally, they're showing up to the hospital broken, sick, infirm, you name it, and they don't have health insurance.
Jeff, you know Georgia just about as good as anybody. I mean, you lived there forever, lieutenant governor there. You know the people. We hear about Trump losing his supporters. We see it in the poll numbers. You're a former Republican turned Democrat. So talk to us about what you're seeing right now in the state. Is the hype that people are leaving real, or is that some narrative that's just out there?
No, it's real. Man, it feels so good to hear you talk about me being a Democrat. I am a proud Democrat. I don't have any excuses anymore to make. I don't have to hide behind Donald Trump or this MAGA sock puppet mentality. I get to speak my mind freely, and I get to reach into this toolkit that Democrats have to help people with a better set of tools than I've ever had before. But look, this negative weight against Donald Trump's real. Think about it in Georgia. If you're a farmer, and a lot of farmers voted for Donald Trump in 2024, but if you're a farmer, you're probably facing the worst fiscal cliff of your life. You can't sell your crops because of the unexplainable tariffs. Your rural healthcare system is disappearing right in front of your eyes. If you're a 20-something-year-old who thought Donald Trump might do something for affordability, and now you're faced with a graduation from college, a debt of $100,000, and you're still living with 4 college roommates driving a 10-year-old car with no savings. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Everybody's being left behind because Donald Trump is chasing one thing only, and that's his own personal ego. And the sycophants around him are allowing this behavior to happen. They're rubber stamping bad ideas left and right because they just want to have a front seat at a big banquet or at a press conference. They just want to act like they're in the cool kids club. And our country's at stake. The future of our country's at stake. And that's the big thing about Georgia. Right, I've gotten over 17,000 small dollar contributions from all 50 states. And it's because I think the rest of the country wants Georgia to get this right. They want us to see us flip this state from Republican to Democrat for the first time in nearly 30 years so that they can have the permission structure to do it the right way in their state.
Jeff, talk to us about how you separate yourself from others in the primaries. Look, you've got a tough primary. You've got some great candidates and some people who are really beloved in the Democratic Party as well, you know, who are running. What's your path here as you're going to people in Georgia? What's your pitch of how you're going to bring this thing home?
Yeah, I've lived really out loud for the last 6 years, right? This isn't just a Johnny come lately. I've spoken at the DNC. I've campaigned with Kamala Harris. I passed hate crimes legislation. I've stood up to Donald Trump every which way. So this has been a pretty public journey for me and my family. And Democrats aren't asking me out on the campaign trail, why did you used to be a Republican? They're asking, how can we win? What's the plan? What's the strategy? And I work with them. And look, I think the electability factor is real. It's been nearly 30 years, as I mentioned a minute ago, since a Democrat's been sworn in. Because in Georgia, to win the governorship, you got to win more than the base. I'm courting this crowd of Democrats, independents, and yes, even disgusted Republicans to show up and vote for me and other Democrats up and down the ticket to really change the trajectory of Georgia. And to do it, as I mentioned earlier, I'm staying focused on 3 issues that everybody in Georgia is worried about, even Republicans: the affordability crisis, the healthcare crisis, the Trump crisis. Those are the 3 things folks wake up worried about. And I think the other important issue here is I'm ready to govern day one. Yes, I used to be a Republican. Yes, I've made some mistakes on some votes in the past, and I didn't have the political courage to say it out loud, but I certainly do now in every room I walk into. I'm willing to build the coalition big enough to pass common sense gun legislation that 90% of Georgians want to see passed, expand Medicaid, and even repeal the heartbeat bill, which has put millions of women in a terrible position with regards to their own health.
Before we go, Jeff, any kind of final message you want to say to the people of Georgia, or just to the people in the country during this very difficult moment in time where people are, again, suffering the affordability crisis? There's a war going on that Trump pretends doesn't exist while the Strait of Hormuz, remains closed. And, we're just seeing the constant, just odd and weird and deranged behavior by someone who's supposed to be a leader. And it's just whether it's posting weird AI videos of himself playing tennis with Serena Williams, or continuing to post about the reflection pool with like Hussein Obama and Trump, or weird photos of himself as Jesus. And people are just like, when are public servants just going to focus on public servant? Like, what is? I don't want to be in this dystopian reality show. I don't want to be an extra in this freaking hellhole, in this weirdness. What's your final message then before we go? And where can people learn more about your campaign, Jeff?
Yeah, look, I don't want anybody to mistake this as just normal. These are not normal times. There's not even in any sort of historical context. These are dangerous times. And we're being led by dangerous people. And so we've got to be bold in what we do and how we do it. And I think the first step in the right direction is to start beating Donald Trump's sock puppets. In Georgia, he's handpicked the current lieutenant governor to be the nominee. And if he wins, then Donald Trump will literally have an office at the Capitol. Right? These are dangerous times being led by dangerous people. And I believe this country will no doubt mark Donald Trump as the worst decision this country's ever made. And so we've got to stand up and we've got to be strong. That's certainly what I'm doing. That's the message I'm bringing to every community in the state. And I feel like our momentum is taking us in the right direction to be in this runoff on May 19th. And then that election is June 16th. Go to our website, duncanforgeorgia.com. You can find out more information. You can make a contribution. You can ping us for more questions and answers. But look, I'm going to run through the tape on this. This means a lot to me. I don't just want to earn people's votes when I talk to them. I want to earn their trust.
Jeff Duncan, former lieutenant governor of Georgia, running for the governor with the Democratic Party in the primary. May 19th, that's my birthday. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks. Happy birthday.
Yeah, it's a little bit now, but we'll see. We'll say it on May 19th. Great to see you, Jeff. Thanks everybody for watching. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.